Alright everyone, this time on Bigger Jobs Garage, we're going to be dressing up the old shop truck here. We got some new trim laid down on the side here. I got my brother Brantley here to help me. What we did is we went ahead and laid down some tape lines just so we have a reference to make sure everything stays straight. Now we're going to come through, we're going to rub it all down with alcohol where we want the strip. Just make sure we want to, it adheres well to the paint. And this stuff's super simple. It's just got two double-sided tape strips on the back there. We'll just peel it off, stick it on. We got a pair of cutters to cut it. So what I'm gonna have Brantley do here is go through and take some rubbing alcohol, wipe it down. Take this and rub in between the two lines of tape there. Now I laid the trim out in the sun so it'll get nice and soft and more pliable. It'll help stick to the truck. Yeah, just take it and wipe down in between the tape lines. There we go. Want to make sure we get all the dust and dirt and everything off. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to start here with the first piece. And we're going to measure from our longest point, which this one will have to cut at a little bit of an angle to follow the line of the wheel well. But we'll start from the longest spot there and measure it to this door jamb here. And we'll want to cut it just a hair long because we can trim it on the back end. So I'm going to go with about 12.5 inches. So you just take your stick-on trim here and we'll measure 12.5 is right about there. So we'll just take these pliers and we'll cut it just a little bit long. Thanks, bud. Alright, so now we'll take this, straighten it out some, and we'll just lay it right along here. And we'll kind of mark out the outline. We'll cut it to fit the contour here. There we go. Now we'll just trim our lines that we made. That's why we want to cut it a little bit long, so we got a little bit to trim off there. Just like that. Now we're ready to stick it on. So what we do is we peel two pieces of plastic off the back. We'll use our lines, our tape lines, to help us keep it straight. Kind of barely stick it on and look at it. Looks pretty straight, so I'm going to go ahead and stick it down. just just like that. And then you pull the protective coating off. And there's our first piece of trim. What do you think, Brown? Look good?
Yes.
Now we move on to the next piece. Cool, isn't it? Started right there. And just pull these back as we go. Keep it straight as possible. Now to keep it straight, we're just barely sticking it so we can go back and look and make sure we got it exactly where we want it. Stuff is pretty pliable. We can make it wiggle. You can just throw them up on the hood button. Step back and look at that. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? You think pretty straight?
Yeah.
I'll give you guys a closer look on the pliers that I'm using, the cutters. I just got them from O'Reilly's down the road, just a local parts store. It takes a razor blade and it cuts the full length of the razor blade. It works great on this vinyl trim. So what we're doing with a closer shot of what we're doing here, we're just taking a tape measure, measuring our piece. We want to cut this one about 4.5 or so. We cut them a little bit long. So we'll just take a roll, measure out 4.5 inches. About 4.25. We'll just cut it a little bit long. Take our cutters, and it's just this easy. They cut perfect straight line all the way across. You just kind of, just like that. And you take your piece, fit it up the way you want it. Shave a little bit off this one. That works right there. We take our marker. Mark where we want it to end. I just draw a line. Then I just take my pliers and trim right on that line. We test fit it. That looks about right. And as you see, we're just using our tape line to keep it level. Because, you know, it's an old truck, doors sag, stuff like that. Some of the body lines don't line up right, but they're pretty close. So that's why we're using our tape line, to kind of keep it all close. Yeah, it might come back to bite us later on if we ever put door bushings in this or anything like that, door pin bushings. But this stuff is cheap enough. I gave $90, I think, for this whole roll on Amazon. And it's got good 3M tape on the back of it. The reviews were really good for it, so I know a lot of guys use it, so I figured I'd give it a try. It was a cheaper option, but it actually looks really good, so. Yeah. Getting the plastic off the tape is kind of hard, kind of tedious. These little pieces are almost worse than the big pieces. Right there. I think that'll work. Looks great. Brantley's my eyes today. I think that looks pretty good. All right, let's move on to the bed. All right, guys, so we got this whole side done. Looks pretty good. We got it real nice and straight, thanks to Brantley. Give him a thumbs up, Brantley. Looks good. We did go ahead and stick the piece on the back too. Turns out pretty good. And where we wrapped it around, it don't look too bad. It's a little off, but it's not. It's because we don't have the right piece for that back. It should be a metal piece like this one, but we'll make it work. All right, guys, so we got the trim all the way around. It was just enough. I bought the biggest kit I could. This is all that I had left, just that, I don't know, 12-inch piece or so. I'll put a link down in the comments for the stuff that I actually used, but it definitely finishes the look on this truck. So now we're gonna get some bolts for our center caps, and we got a new set of center caps to put on it. And this truck's almost show ready. So we got Brantley putting on the center caps now. We got 4 new to us center caps from the swap meet down the road. I think they're gonna finish off the look of the wheels. The trim looks good. Be pretty cool. Brantley got the center caps put on. Look pretty good. I went ahead and pulled the radiator out and flushed it out with the hose real good. Then filled it up with water, drained it. Now I filled it up with this Blue Devil radiator flush. We're still having a little bit of an issue with this truck overheating. It does fine in town, but when you get it on the highway and start really driving it, it starts to overheat on you, and I figured out why. That radiator is plugged up solid. So we're gonna give that stuff a go and see if that what might fix the issue. I did flush it out with the hose and got it unplugged, but it's still got some restrictions in it. So we're gonna try this stuff, see if it does anything. I'm gonna go ahead and fill it up with water, and we'll drive it around for a while with this stuff in there, maybe try to get the rest of the junk out of it and see what it does. So I wanted to show you guys on this trim, I've got some spots where it's been peeling back. The tape on the trim's not the best. I thought it was supposed to be 3M tape. I don't think it is. So I went through and bought some 3M tape. I've been sticking it on just on the ends where they're peeling back, and now it's holding pretty good. So just want to show you guys that little tip. Hey y'all, so it's been a few days. I've drove the truck back and forth to work a few times with that Blue Devil on the radiator. Before, this truck would run about 220 or so going down the highway. Now stays at 190 all the time. So the plugged radiator was definitely our overheating issue. Really, we still need to put heads on the truck. Still has low compression on 1 and 2. Right now, we're not going to be able to get to that. We got too much other stuff going on right now. But we do have this truck in a truck show. It's the Mo C10 truck show. So I really just wanted to get it to where we could drive it and stuff like that. And honestly, it's getting better. Once it warms up, the compression comes up in those 2 cylinders and it drives pretty good. So, but the issue that we're having now is these cable connections corrode really fast. So we got to address that. What happens? The connections corrode, and then the starter drags, doesn't want to start sometimes. You come out here, wiggle the connections, that fires right up. So we're going to address that today, and we're going to get it all cleaned up under the hood pretty good. Get ready for this car show that's coming up. So we're going to start with taking this battery switch out. My wife's grandpa had put this in because they parked it for a long periods of time and they didn't want the battery to go dead. They could pull the switch out of it and then no one could start it. It's just in line with the starter. So we're gonna go ahead and take that out. We don't technically need that. And it pulls a lot of amperage through this small switch. So I'm kind of worried the switch is gonna burn up and leave it stranded somewhere. So I'm gonna take this out and I'm just gonna come straight from down to the starter. This is the positive cable. I know it's black. All the cables are black on this thing. But we have some red heat shrink to mark this one. And we're going to make sure it's crimped good and everything. And then we're going to go straight to the positive battery terminal. And then we're also going to redo our main ground. So our main ground goes from the battery negative over here, just mounts on the alternator bracket. We're going to see if we can't find somewhere cleaner to mount that. That way we don't have this big heavy cable running right across our engine bay. Just trying to clean it up a little bit, guys. So, and we can secure it. We have P-clamps and stuff like that to secure it to the fenders, to the frame, wherever we want to run it. That way it's not sitting there shaking around. It's not a fire hazard. You know, these cables, if they sit here and rub on this fender and it shorts out, it could cause a fire. So we don't really want our truck to burn down. So we're going to get all that cleaned up and stuff too. So first I'm going to start by taking the switch off. Such a little bitty screw, it was stuck so good. Yeah. So now we can kind of tuck it up and out of the way. Just run it right there. But for now, we're gonna leave this to the side. But what we are gonna do is we are gonna put some heat shrink on this because it doesn't have any heat shrink. So since that's our positive cable, we're gonna, of course, use red heat shrink. So we'll just measure out about 2 or 3 inches or so. Just cut it with a pair of side cutters. Clean it up a little bit. Tight fit, slide it over. Should use a heat gun for this, but torch works just fine. Alright guys, so what we're gonna do is we got some cable here. This cable isn't quite as heavy as the old cable, as you can see, but it's much finer strands. This is like real coarse strands. This actually flows way more electricity than this does. So this is updated, way better. So what we're gonna do is strip a little bit back, put an eyelet on it. That way we can go straight from the battery to the engine block. What we're gonna do is got a little razor blade here. Take this, mark about how much it is with your thumb. Always just take it. You just want to cut through the shielding, and you'll feel the strands of wires in there. This is how I do all my cables. Take that off. There we go. Now, got the cable end exposed. That fits right in there. So, what I'm going to do first though, take a little bit of this heat shrink. This is just regular heat shrink. Cut about 2 inches or so of it off. Razor blade's getting dull. And I'm just gonna slide it over, which we don't have no end on the other side, so it doesn't really matter. We could just slip it all the way through, but if you got 2 ends on each side, sometimes they won't fit over the eyelets. So we just do that. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to smash it. I usually use a fancy tool, pumps and crimps this, but I don't know if the seals went bad in it or something happened to it, and it's not pumping now. So we're just gonna use the vise. You can use the vise, it's no big deal. You just want to make sure you get this cable crimped tight. And it's not that hard to do. Flip it over, do the other side, make sure the whole thing is crimped tight all the way across. That way it makes the most contact and has the best, the best connection. Alright, I like that. That looks pretty good. Do it one more time right here, flatten it out. You can also just take a hammer, smash these. You can build a little tool to smash them. I've seen all kinds of different ways to do it. This is the way I do it when I don't have my crimping tool. And it works pretty good. So, now we got that in smashed. It's on there good, it's not coming off. Now we're gonna heat shrink it. Same way, just take a torch, heat it out. I have to find some butane for this torch. And just like that, we have our new ground cable in. Alright y'all, so when I like to do battery cables, I like to start from wherever I'm going and work my way back to the battery. It just seems like that's the best way to do it. Turns out the cleanest, and you can kind of work around everything that way. And you know how much cable, you don't cut your cable too short or whatever. Figure out how you get it back there and then cut your cable and make your end. So what I'm gonna do, I kind of want this to go from the battery box down around, tuck down in here, come up, and we have a bunch of places right here where we can secure to the frame. Can make it look real clean through there. That's all we're doing. We're just cleaning this up. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come right here in between the valve cover and the back of the alternator, and I want it to mount somewhere around here. So I like this one bracket right here on the alternator. See, that'll tuck down in there. We can bring that down. We can meet up with our positive cable, and we have double-ended zip ties, so we can keep them spaced out away from each other and real cleanly bring it up all the way over here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take out this bolt right here for this side of the alternator bracket, and it's pretty dirty and nasty. So I'm gonna take a little die grinder, clean all that off real good. We gotta make sure our hole's big enough, and it is big enough to fit through our eyelet. So we're just gonna clean that off real good right there, so it makes a good connection. And we'll mount that end of our battery cable right there. Alright, there we go. So now we got a little spot bare metal, so we'll get a good connection. And we will come back through and we can hit it with a little bit of paint over the top, just so it won't corrode. Now we got a good connection. Run that bolt back in that hole. Snug it down. There we go. So now that end of our battery cable is mounted. Looks pretty nice, pretty clean right there. Now we want to kind of just guesstimate. So this one's going to turn back. I kind of like the idea of them both coming down, tucking down in here. So we're going to give it a little bit. We'll cut it right about in here. Stuff's hard to cut. It's good quality cables there. So now we have perfect mount, circle all the way around, come hook up to the battery back in here. Alright, so I'm going to put another end on this side, heat shrink it, and I'll come back after I do that. Alright guys, so we got both ends on here. They look really good. It's a nice looking cable. We could throw this on the way it looks. Probably be alright. I like to take it one step further. So I got this harness loom, and it's just wire sleeve tubing, Vanguard. I got it at Harbor Freight. This is a new product that they have, so I haven't tried it, but it looks really close to what OEM uses and stuff like that on newer vehicles. And this stuff works really good. It stops wires from chafing together and stuff like that, rubbed wires. So, and it looks really good by the time you put it on. So what I like to do is I take it, and by the way, Harbor Freight, if you want to sponsor me, they use a lot of your products and they're pretty awesome, so sponsor me. But anyways, so what I do is I just take it, work it around on the wiring, which what I'm going to do first is just stretch it out and get all that I need out. So I'm going to take it, follow the length of the wires, and we'll cut it right about there. This stuff says it's suitable for high temperatures, indoor, outdoor use. It's pretty cool stuff. It's just made up of a bunch of small strands woven all together. And it works pretty good for stuff like this. And if you want clean ends with it, what I do is I cut it, which side cutters aren't the best thing to cut it with. But then I'll take my torch. It's just like nylon rope. You can kind of burn the ends a little bit. And it all melts together, and your ends won't fray then. So, got that all on there. Now let's just work it on our wire loom the way we want it. There we go. All right. So now, we got this all on there. I'll center it. Got pretty much where we want it. So now what you can do to seal the end so it won't come back off is you can take a little bit more of your heat shrink. And this is heat shrink from Harbor Freight too. Make sure you get the marine grade heat shrink, because if you don't get the marine grade, it don't have the glue on the inside. The glue on the inside is what seals your connections. And there we go. Now for our little ground, we'll just put a little eyelet on that, clean that up real good. We'll have that done. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and hook everything up, back up the way it was. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and put harness wrap on the positive cable too, just to clean that up so it won't rub anywhere, do anything. Once I get that done, then we can put some P-clamps on it and zip tie it all together the way we want it, route it, and then we'll work on maybe cleaning up some of these under the hood wiring harnesses. They just kind of looks like wires are running everywhere. We're gonna bunch them all together, put some of this harness wrap on everything, make everything look good, and then we'll go to cleaning up the firewall and cleaning up the fender wells and stuff like that, and just having everything look good factory under here. So we'll go to that. All right, y'all, so we got it all cleaned up under here. We got our wiring all put in the loom, cleaned up. We taped up some more of this wiring and zip tied it up and just kind of made it a little bit more clean. That way we don't have random wires hanging all over the place. We got kind of that cleaned up a little bit more, just, you know, so nothing's rubbing on the firewall. We did go through and scrub the firewall and the ender fenders and the core support and stuff with the SOS pads, and then we done a coat of the ZEP high traffic floor polish like we did on the whole truck, and it looks good. It looks really good now. All right, guys, we're out for a little cruise in the old C10, and I'm really excited to show you guys what this thing looks like now. We got it all finished up. This thing looks amazing. I can't wait to show you guys. We got the decals on it, our trim on it. We got it cleaned up under the hood. It looks so cool. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Take a look at this thing, guys. Check out our decal. Got our shop logo on the side. Got the trim all done up. Shout out to Rusty Pods. This rustypod.com is where I got the decal. It's just a vinyl decal, even though it looks like it's hand painted and distressed and everything. It's super easy to put on. Turned out really, really good. The trim turned out awesome. Let me pop the hood and show you guys under the hood. Got it all cleaned up under the hood here. It looks so good. This truck has came a long ways, guys. It's turned out awesome. Well guys, this is gonna do it for this episode of Bigger Jobs Garage. I hope you enjoyed watching me put the final touches on the square body. This thing turned out amazing. I couldn't be happier with it. So make sure you like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing here. And don't forget to jump on my social medias at Bigger Jobs Garage. Give them a like and a follow too. Thanks guys.